This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are we doing today on a Monday, the last Monday of the year? Hope you and yours are doing well. It's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. We're hanging out live in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios right here off McFarland Boulevard, ready to dive into Alabama's Rose Bowl matchup against the Indiana Hoosiers. Can the Crimson Tide survive and advance? How can they take down the number one team? We'll talk about it today on the Joe Gaither Show on the Bama Central YouTube channel, on the Bama Central Facebook page. You're listening to us on Apple Podcast, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. We're hanging out live with our buddy Hunter Brantley. 3 Mondays in a row with Hunter Brantley. Appreciate everybody giving us a little reprieve. We didn't have shows the last 3 days of the week last week. I hope you all had a great Christmas. I did with my family. Loved spending time with my family, with everybody right up there in Chattanooga. And then we came back late Friday night, so I apologize. We did not get a show in on Friday, but appreciate everybody giving us a little reprieve. We'll be back with you all 5 days this week. Huge 5 days as Alabama is about to fly out to Pasadena, California. We spent the weekend in the Malmore Athletic Facility watching practice on Sunday. Just a little bit of practice, just a taste of practice.
15 minutes worth.
Yeah, just a small taste on Sunday. Right. We heard from both coordinators. We heard from several players: Ty Simpson, Tim Keenan, Yanzi Pierre, Jeremy Bernard, a lot more. Xavier Brown,
the best cornerback in the country.
He might be.
I don't know. D'Angelo Pons might have something to say about that on Thursday.
You can find all those press conferences right there on the Bama Central YouTube channel, as well as practice footage. If you like that, we're going to have a lot of fun today talking about what we saw. We will finish up the program with just a little bit of Yale conversation as Alabama basketball returns to the hardwood tonight to take on the Yale, aren't they Bulldogs? Yale Bulldogs, isn't that what they are?
They are the Bulldogs.
So we'll kind of end the program talking about Yale and Alabama's final non-conference matchup before getting into SEC play. So it's a huge week ahead on the Bama Central YouTube channel. Final week of 2025. It's been a great 2025 with you guys. Subscribe, rate, and review the show. You guys have made 2025 such a great time. Call us on the hotline at 205, on the voicemail machine at 205-462-7340, extension 800 if you want to leave your prediction for the Rose Bowl. Mason Woods is still out of town, as he is still out of the country.
Croatia?
He's in Norway. He's out of the country trying to avoid his bad takes. He did leave us a voicemail last week, so if you want to hear Mason Woods' voicemail reacting to Alabama's victory over Oklahoma, you can find that right there on the Tuesday episode of last week if you want to find his mea culpa. So we'll kind of have a lot of fun the rest of the week. Call us and leave us a voicemail like Mason did, giving us your prediction for Alabama's matchup in the Rose Bowl on Thursday. With that, the program is brought to you, of course, by Purple Turtle Roofing. Call Purple Turtle Roofing at 877-787-6635. At Purple Turtle Roofing, we're not just another contractor. We're your neighbor and your advocate when it comes to protecting your home and business. With years of hands-on experience, top-tier certification, and a commitment to excellence, we've built a reputation as Alabama's go-to roofing solution, specializing in residential roofing, commercial roofing, emergency storm repairs, full-on roof replacements, insurance claim support, and more. Call them today at 877-787-6635. To schedule your free inspection. They'll come out, make sure your roof is good to go for the year 2026. Lots of storms ahead. Make sure that you are safe and secure with Purple Turtle Roofing. With that, follow Hunter Brantley at Hunter Brantley 8. Watch him on WVUA 23 right here in Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Hunter. How we doing, sir?
We're doing pretty good, Joe. I just got to say, got to throw this out there. Merry Christmas. Merry belated Christmas to all our viewers. Merry Christmas to everyone that watches the Joe Gaither Experience. I hope everyone had a better Christmas than Theodore Fernandez, who had to watch his Oklahoma City Thunder lose for the third straight time this year. They are now 0-3 against the San Antonio Spurs. So you're letting the new kids on the block just take you, throw you around. And, I mean, you can't do nothing with it. I mean, you're letting Wemby have his way. You're letting Castle have his way. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure that he had a disappointing Christmas watching the Thunder play.
Unfortunate. I know he's a big Thunder fan. What do the Giants do?
I think they lost too, knowing them.
Oh, terrible for Theo. It's so sad. We'll probably do. We're trying to have Theo on tomorrow. He is going to Pasadena, so I'm not quite sure what his availability is going to be.
Call in the show, Theo. Leave a voicemail if you can't make it tomorrow. I want to get your thoughts on how bad the Thunder are right now.
The Giants won. The Giants beat the Raiders 34 to 10.
Well, there's a silver lining for him then.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
But your precious Oklahoma City Thunder that are championship material doesn't look championship material compared to the Spurs right now. Letting the new kids on the block just smack you around. Like I said earlier, they don't have an answer for the Spurs right now. So hopefully they can figure that out. That can be the New Year's resolution. Beat the San Antonio Spurs.
It's a long season.
It is a long season.
There's a lot. For many of us, Christmas Day was opening day for the NBA season.
That's right. That's what they say, at least. That's the old cliche saying.
Right. So, yeah, you've lost 3 to Spurs. That's okay. It doesn't matter. It's all preseason.
That's true. Just poking fun with them.
There you go.
The main thing.
We're going to have Daniel Flick join us on Wednesday. Daniel Flick, a writer for Indiana Hoosiers on SI. You can follow him at by Daniel Flick. He's going to be joining us on the Wednesday edition. I know that he is out there for the Hoosiers, covering the Hoosiers. So we will get to know Indiana with Daniel Flick here later on in the week. That'll be for the Wednesday edition of the show. Man, Hunter. Jeff, the weather yesterday for practice was perfect.
It was phenomenal. It was A tier, honestly, Joe. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching some of the early enrollees like Sedarian Morgan and Jordan Edmonds, Jari Edwards do their thing out there. I enjoyed watching Ty Simpson sling the pigskin around. I enjoyed watching Keon Sabb make plays, tracking the ball. He hadn't got an interception since Vanderbilt. I don't know why. I have a sneaky suspicion he's going to get one on Thursday. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling I have watching them practice yesterday. It was good seeing LT Overton back out there, and it was good watching Connor Talty practicing. He is in peak form. I promise you that.
He looked good.
He looked
at least for practice.
He made that field goal that I posted on X. Everyone's saying that he missed it and that was a lame post. I mean, he made the field goal, guys. The other specialists are standing right behind the field goal post, right where it goes right between it.
And they gave him the double arms up.
Someone threw their arms up like that he made it. So.
And
you look good.
You mentioned early enrollees. You didn't mention Jet Tamala. He looks just like the size-wise the rest of the quarterbacks.
He
6'4", 220. He was not. He didn't stand out for who's that child? No, he looked like any other quarterback out there. So great to see him early enrolled as well.
He definitely looks the part.
Yeah. So we only saw 15 minutes yesterday. Obviously, we get the warm-up lines and everybody's hooting and hollering, rah rah rah.
You just cool handshake.
Yeah, he and Lazia Brooks getting together. You mentioned it, LT Overton, and I'll throw the other name out there, Kevin Riley. Both guys are returning to practice. I think that's the most newsworthy part of what we saw at practice. I mean, obviously, it's only 15 minutes. You get the warm-ups, you get first little stations of Indy drills. The defense is working on turnovers and track of the ball interceptions. The offense is working ball security drills, and the offensive line is basically practicing double teams, and the defensive line is basically practicing swim moves and ripping stuff against bags. But so that's kind of like the football part of what we saw. So that gives you an idea. That's not much, but it was very good to see LT in a full-on crimson uniform, no black uniform. The last time we were out there, LT wasn't even on the practice field. So I don't know if that was just because media availability before the Oklahoma game. They didn't want to show him out there, see what he was doing. Obviously, he was dealing with a medical issue that I mean, it's been out there. It's been out there now. If you know where to look, he's been dealing with some strange blood clotting issues. Basically, before the SEC championship game, he was slated to go. His little catapult machine that's kind of hooked up to it. All the players are wearing catapults, to GPS systems on practice. His little catapult system was feeding the trainers off the charts bad information, and they pulled him aside. Hey, you feeling okay? And I'm all right. Just practicing hard, just giving my all. They said, well, your machine's not really responding well. Maybe
the machine says otherwise.
Yeah, maybe something's up with you. They pull him off and then find out he's got some blood clotting issues. So that's why he was missing the SEC championship game and the Oklahoma game. And we all remember, if you're watching the show, you remember I speculated on the Wednesday when they announced that he was out. I was like, well, what else would they what else would they rule him out for if it wasn't for COVID this early? It wasn't COVID-19, just some, but it was a very serious issue that he, I believe, was taking some blood thinners and finally got cleared late last week, right around Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and so we put that out there. He reported that he was cleared, and he was out there yesterday leading the drills. It was him, James Smith, and Tim Keenan, the starting defensive linemen, right out there. I would expect him to be full go on Thursday.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be fully healthy. I think that whatever issue you mentioned, blood clots, if that was the case, which I'm 99.9% sure it was, I think that's thrown by the wayside, and he's good, and he's over that right now. I'm glad it wasn't more serious than it was, because blood clots are a serious deal. I remember, speaking of Wemby, I brought him up. He was dealing with blood clots, and he missed the entire season. So, I mean, I think he went out and missed the last 40 games of the year. So I'm glad it wasn't that serious. It was just a minor procedure that he had done. But credit to this strength staff, man, and the training staff and everybody that made this possible, because, like I said, blood clots are a serious thing. They're not to be taken lightly, and I'm glad LT got that problem solved. And he's going to be a godsend to have back out there, because they didn't get a ton of pressure on Mateer last game, and you're going to need to ramp that pressure up on Mendoza, who's, I'm sure we're going to get into it, the Heisman Trophy winner. And it helps to put him on his back a couple of times, that's for sure. And LT's probably the best, or one of the best at least, on this defense of doing that.
I think having him back is a big boost, but I really liked what you saw out of Keon Keeley in the last game.
I agree.
I thought that he performed pretty well in that backup bandit role, and I would like to see him continue to get opportunity in this Rose Bowl. LT, glad to have you back. We'll definitely take a handful of snaps out of you, but I would like to still see Keon Keeley continue to get reps, because I thought he played pretty well in the Oklahoma game, putting pressure on John Mateer. And I agree with you. I think putting pressure on Fernando Mendoza is going to be really the key to the game. When he's pressured, just like any quarterback, it's tougher. I think when it's clean pockets, he knows what the coverage is. He knows what he wants to do. Right, he's going to be pretty tough. Other injury aspect that we saw yesterday, we already mentioned it, but we'll get into it. Kevin Riley, broken jaw in the Eastern Illinois game. Goes out and then doesn't play in the Auburn game, doesn't play in the SEC championship game, doesn't play in the Oklahoma game. Now, that was nearly month and change at this point. Month and change, because Eastern Illinois was probably the 22nd, 17th or so, 20th of November. And then you had Auburn 29th, 28th or so. So you've had right at a little over a month now. Kevin Riley not wearing a black non-contact jersey yesterday, and that takes your running back room fairly healthy. Jam Miller moving out there. You had Daniel Hill moving out there. Kevin Riley. You have A.K. Deere. You have Richard Young, Dre Washington. And you all of a sudden, a couple weeks ago, before the SEC championship game, it was no Jam, no Kevin Riley, dinged up Daniel Hill. And now 4 or 5 weeks later,
healthy.
Right,
for the most part, they're as healthy as you'll get. Kevin Riley has been a really big component in the pass game. He's really good in the screen action. When they throw him the ball, he can take it for a decent amount of yards. So it's good to have him back, to have that threat, because I feel like he is the best running back that we have, catching the ball out of the backfield. I think A.K. Deere can get there as time goes on, but this year, right now, at this very moment, Kevin Riley's your guy for that, and I think that he's going to provide a spark for the offense. I don't know what it'll be. I don't know what setting it'll be in. Like I said, he's really good when it comes to getting the ball in the screen game and getting the ball out of the backfield. He caught a pass for a touchdown against Missouri, so who knows? Maybe we can see him get involved in some way, shape, or form. I would love to see him out there. I'm just not sure how much involved he's been in practice. I know he was wearing a white jersey like the rest of the offensive players who are full go, fully healthy guys. But how much do you think he'll be involved in the game plan against Oklahoma, or against Indiana? Sorry, Joe, because he didn't play against Oklahoma. Are we rushing him back? How fully healthy is that jaw? He hadn't played in a while. So how much do you think he'll be utilized against Indiana? I think he'll be utilized fairly seldom. I think it depends on the situation, how the game goes. If we're down 17-0, I don't think we'll see a whole bunch of Kevin Riley. Now, if we're controlling the game like we have in the past against Auburn, against Georgia the first time, Tennessee, I think we'll see more and more of Kevin Riley. And who knows, like I said, anything can happen in a Rose Bowl. Anything can happen in the playoff game. So maybe it'll be his time to shine. So I'm looking forward to seeing him get back out there and do his thing.
Yeah, you asked how much do I think we're going to utilize him. I would agree with you. You said fairly seldomly. I would say not much. I would say maximum of 8 touches.
I will say this.
Yeah.
Instead of Draylon Washington getting a tunnel screen pass or jailbreak screen, I think it definitely should be Kevin Riley at the top of the list and not Draylon Washington.
Yes, I think that is I'm dead with you right there. I think he will have a maximum of 7 touches in this 8 touches. I should say 6-7 touches in this Indiana game, but I think that's still even a little high. I think it'll probably end up being about 3. 3-4 touches is probably what he's going to end up being. It's just the fact that you have more options. It's just the fact that, okay, because Jam's going to start.
Daniel's fully healthy.
Right. I think that he basically slots into that third slot as third option and bumps AK Deer and Dre Washington back down a slot. And ultimately, I think that he probably gets between 3 and 7 touches in the game.
I agree with you. There's been instances this year, we did it against Oklahoma, where we would have Jeremy Bernard in the backfield and we just give a direct handoff to him. So, that could be an option as well. He could take carries away from him. I wouldn't mind seeing Ryan Williams. If we're going to do it with Jeremy, might as well try it out with Ryan as well. Toss the ball right, strong side, see how much he can go, see how many yards he can get, see if he can take it to the house, because Lord knows he's had difficulties catching the ball, that's for sure. Whether it be out of the backfield, whether it be in the screen game, whether it be 50 yards down the field, he's just had a problem holding on to the football. So maybe we can get him involved that way. I wouldn't mind seeing that, especially if the run game's lackluster like it has been just about every game this season, but it has been good enough to get wins against really good opponents. So hopefully we can maybe see him thrive in a role similar to like something like that. Just get him involved, like I said, some way, shape, or form, because he really needs to be an impact player for this Alabama team to win this game against Indiana, who's got a really good defense. It'll be one of the best defenses they've seen probably since Georgia. Oklahoma was really good. I think Georgia's a step ahead of Oklahoma.
Well, that's a good place to start, Hunter. I've got total defense and total offense pulled up. Indiana 8th in total offense. You're talking about the defense right there. 8th in total offense. They've averaged 472 yards per game. The defense that you just brought up. Indiana is 4th in the country in total defense. They've given up 257.2 yards per game. And so I want to ask you, I want to get into this with you because I do think they play really, really sound defense. Their star defensive lineman, Stephen Daly, unfortunately, is going to be out with an injury. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. I think it's unfortunate just because I want to see, great football players play. But if you're an Alabama fan, you may view that as fortunate because I think he's a pretty much a game wrecker. You've had a couple. I'm going to throw a couple different things at you defensively, and I want to get your response to kind of all of it all together. Only allowing 257.2 yards per game. You've had a really good defense all year long. People have said, oh, well, this defensive front is undersized. They threw the undersized at them against Oregon. They threw the undersized at them. They're throwing the undersized at them against Alabama right now. Against Oregon, they only allowed total 267 yards per game. Against Ohio State, they only, in that game, against Ohio State, they allowed 322 yards in the game. They gave Ohio State 58 rushing yards. Oregon, 81 rushing yards. So you're looking at two offenses that, somewhat resemble the skill and talent that Alabama has. I don't know that the size disparity along the Alabama offensive line to the Indiana defensive line, even with Stephen Daly being out, is a huge advantage for Alabama because I think Oregon beats you with speed and beats you with technique and beats you with grit. What you see on film when you watch them, I just rewatched the Big Ten championship game again this morning, and you really see a unit that plays 11 players playing as one. You have a little bit of hesitancy somewhere in the linebacker, in the second level. But as far as the defensive front and the back end, they're playing very, very connected. I think that they're playing a lot of zone defense, and the zones are looking like one zone to start and morphing to another zone after the snap. The defensive line, they're doing a lot of wrapping. They're doing a lot of stunting. They're playing well together. They're playing aggressively together. They're getting upfield. But I'm wondering, Hunter, about, okay, is this fourth overall defense, is it inflated? Could it possibly be inflated by this Big Ten schedule? I mean, they only played Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. They played
And
Oregon. Oregon was basically their big-time offensive test this year. All right, so among the offenses that they faced this season, Old Dominion, 18th in the country, 454 per game. Kennesaw State, 51st in the country, 402 per game. Indiana State, 94th best offense in the FCS, so pretty stinky, bad, 322.4. Illinois, 83rd offense in the country, 370 yards per game. Iowa, 121st in offense this season, 315 yards per game. Oregon, we just talked about Oregon, 11th best offense in the country, beating the heck out of JMU.
Probably the best offense they've seen all year, arguably.
Not probably. Yes, they are the best offense on this list. 11th best offense in the country, 468 yards per game that the Oregon Ducks have generated. Michigan State, 99 overall in the country, 345. UCLA, 119. At 319 yards a game. Maryland, 87th best offense. Penn State, 88th best offense. Wisconsin, yeah, Alabama smoked those Wisconsin Badgers too. Wisconsin, 135th offense in the entire country at just 253 yards per game. Purdue, 102 offense in the country at 342 yards per game. Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game was the third best offense that they faced this year based in yards per game. 24th in the country at 429 yards per game. So it's Oregon 11, it's Old Dominion at 18, and it's Ohio State at 24 are the three best offenses that they face. Their average offense, excluding Indiana State, right? Excluding Indiana State because they're FCS. Their average FBS offense that they played this year was the 85.2.
That was their average.
The average teams that they played.
Total offense.
Right. And they averaged 401.94 yards per game. Their opponents were basically 85th in offense, averaging 401 yards per game. Now Alabama. That average gets really skewed with Old Dominion, with Oregon, with Ohio State as well. So you get over that 400 yards. Alabama has the 76th best offense in the country in yards per game at 380. Now Alabama's playing SEC defenses, so you're playing tougher, right? You're playing tougher defenses through the year. Is the Indiana defense inflated? Is the Indiana defense? That's the question that we're throwing to you. You got all this information, the size disparity, the other offenses that they have faced. Is the Indiana defense inflated at fourth overall in the country?
I think in a way, yes. But at the same time, I think they are a very well-coached team, and I think they do their job, as Kirk Cinetti likes to put it. They play mistake-free, and they just do enough to win the football game. They do whatever they have to do to be efficient and be effective to win the football game. And that's really all that matters. I mean, it's not about pizzazz. It's not about gimmicks. It's not about sparkle and this and that and flash. They just go out there and they play fundamentally sound football. And they can't help that the offenses they play aren't very good. I'm looking at the sack numbers right here. People talk about Stephen Daly being out, who he's got 5.5 sacks.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool. Elijah Hardy has 8. Isaiah Jones has 7. Tyreek Tucker has 5.5. So it's not like that they're a bad defense. It's not like that they can't get after the quarterback at all, because I feel like I said, I think the key to the game is what defensive line is going to get after the quarterback. That's going to be the difference maker. I think Indiana is a really good defense. I really do. I know that they've played some lackluster offenses, but the proof's right here in the pudding. I mean, you beat Ohio State. You hold them to 10 points. You held Oregon to 13 points because Mendoza had a pick 6. So they only scored 13 points offensively, so that's pretty good. And it was at Oregon, which is a tough place to play.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's not like that they're getting shelled and getting ran through when they play these really good offenses. I don't know how many Old Dominion scored, 17 points? Is that right? 10 points, 13 points?
Yeah, let me pull that back.
I'm pretty sure it was under 20.
Yeah.
What's the most points they've given up all year?
Old Dominion scored 14 points. Old Dominion scored 14.
True.
Iowa scored 15. Oregon 20, obviously with a pick 6, you said. Penn State scored 24. That's their biggest output at Penn State. Penn State scored 24, and they gave Penn State 336 yards of offense.
And Penn State predominantly runs the football.
Yeah, they ran the ball for 117 yards in that game. They outrushed Indiana 117 to 108.
I think it'll be hard moving the football, being
Oh,
one-dimensional like
boy.
Alabama is.
Yeah,
I think
so
you got to be
too.
balanced. You have to be balanced against this defense, is what I've come to find out. Because Oregon throws the ball around a lot. Dante Moore has I was looking at the other day, throws it 14, 15 times a game, if not more. Probably up there in the high 20s. So I mean, they love to throw the ball around. Like I said, they love to run the ball as well, but obviously sometimes it's not that effective. And I think Alabama, that's their kryptonite. To be honest with you, they can't run the ball. We've said that all year long. They struggle with a run game. And I think the gimmicky, the flash that Grubb likes to display is going to come back, and it's going to be the end of the road. It might bite him in the rear end this time around. Hopefully I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong. But like I said, man, Stephen Daly's out, and I don't think it matters. It's next man up mentality for them. They still got a lot of playmakers on that defense who are very aggressive, very physical. And that's been the talk all week long is physicality. And I think Alabama's got to match that physicality. Offensive line, we'll see how tough they can be. They said it was going to take elite communication last week to beat Oklahoma. I think it'll take near perfect communication and near perfect play from the offensive line to be able to move the ball effectively against this Indiana defense.
I agree with you that it's going to be a really big challenge. I just wonder if there's any way that through 13 games, Indiana has snuck by playing your Marylands, playing your Wisconsin, your Purdue's, you got some pretty bad offense. Iowa at one, how many over 100? Yeah, 3 different offenses are over 100 in total offense in yards per game. With those 3 I just mentioned, Iowa 121, Purdue 102, Wisconsin 135, Michigan State right there at 99. So basically 4 offenses at 100 or worse that they've faced this year. I do think that their defense is very good. I do. And I agree with you that you're going to have to be balanced in this Rose Bowl game, but I don't think it needs to be balanced in a sense where we're calling 50% run and calling 50% pass. I think what it has to be is you got to be efficient in the pass game. I mean, what we saw from Ty Simpson in the Oklahoma game when he started basically from the 4th series on, he was just kind of, hey, the first pass I see, I'm just taking it. I think that he's got to have that let it rip mentality that he's been talking about over the weekend with us on the press conferences, and that he said he refound in the Oklahoma game. And that way, when you do turn and hand the ball off, you can be effective because you didn't really run the ball against Oklahoma. You didn't run the ball very well against Oklahoma.
That big gain, and that was it.
Exactly. Daniel Hill had a 30-yard rush, and then Daniel Hill scored from the goal line. But other than that, you really didn't run the ball very well against Oklahoma the entire game. You only managed, 28 rushing yards. Now, a lot of that yardage is messed up by the sack yardage. Ty Simpson getting sacked 4 different times. Your running backs, Daniel Hill, 9 carries, 43 yards. Jam Miller, 7 carries, 11 yards. So that's 54 yards. And Jeremy was 0 yards. You had a team rush of -4. And Ty Simpson took 6 carries, -22 yards. So a lot of that sack yard is messing you up right there. But your running backs carried, 16 carries, 54 yards, right? 16 carries, 54 yards. That's not really that good. That's nothing to beat your chest about, but it was enough to keep the Oklahoma defense, especially in the second half, off balance because you were hitting big plays. Obviously, the big one to Jeremy Bernard gets all the accolades, but I think honestly, the rail shot to Isaiah Horton down the sidelines in the second half on the far sideline was.
It was a great throw.
Yeah, your best throw of the
right
day.
in the bucket,
right
down the chimney.
And credit Isaiah Horton for catching that football. You've had a lot of drops this year throughout the wide receiver room, and so it was big for him to pull that in. You have these bigger plays. I mean, you had 5 plays of over 20 yards in the passing game. A couple to us here, Brooks, obviously the one to Jeremy Bernard, mossed him. The one to Isaiah Horton, and Cuevas caught himself one as well. So you had actually production in the deep passing game, and then when you handed the football off, the box was a little bit softer, was a little bit lighter, was just a couple percentage points easier to run the football, and you were more effective, I thought, with those runs. Obviously, Daniel Hill with a big monster 30-yarder on that sweep, but I think that you've just got to keep this in, try to do your best to keep the Indiana defense off balance and to manipulate their eyes a little bit. When you're watching the Big Ten championship game, Ohio State has success when they're moving Indiana sideline to sideline, when they've got motions and they're trying to create, spacing and gaps in this Indiana defense. When this Indiana defense, I think when they know what's coming, or when they have a pretty good sense of what's coming, and they know what they're going to be doing defensively, I think they play extremely aggressive. I think they they are very, very physical, and I think they're very talented. But I do think this Alabama offense can attack them in certain ways that ends up putting points and ends up having Alabama win the game.
I think Indiana's going to follow a similar script to Georgia, what they did in the SEC championship game. If they can rush 4 or 5 and they just pin their ears back, play cover 2, cover 1 the whole game, and live with it, keep everything in front of them. Like I said, get pressure on Ty Simpson, who's completed 53% of his passes under pressure this year, which isn't bad. That's not bad at all. That's up there with Mendoza, believe it or not. So that's not terrible. I think he is better than what people give him credit for under pressure. But my biggest thing is, you talked about the run. You talked about the deep passing game. What about the intermediate passing game? Like, how much of a factor does that play in this at all? Because I think that could be a big factor too. If you can get 10, 15 yards, and then you take that deep shot over the top to Ryan, to Jeremy, to Latsier, and then I think that can open up maybe the run game a little bit, especially if they're pinning the safeties deep. And then, they have a lighter box. You can run the ball more effectively, to your point, Joe, to what you said. And I think that can be a very impactful part of what Grubb wants to do offensively.
Well, not just the intermediate game, but I think even the shorter passing game, because Indiana is playing mostly zone coverage, whether it be cover 2, cover 3. They played a lot of cover 6 in this game against Ohio State. Right, they had 2 safeties, 2 deep guys playing quarters and 1 guy playing halves. So you're basically in a cover 6 mode right there. I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity to where, oh, Ty, can you take this 3-yard pass it to skill position player X, Y, or Z, and let them get another 3 to 5 yards? And so your 3-yard pass turns into 6 to 8 yards, and you're staying on schedule because you're hitting a lot of things that are underneath and that are I think this game is going to be a huge test for Ty Simpson, in processing, because I think that Indiana is going right. Exactly that.
Without a doubt.
Because I think Indiana mixes up their coverages so well, but you pretty much know they're going to be in some sort of a zone. They're pretty much going to be in some sort of a zone. They're probably, they might bring a blitzer here or there, but they're pretty much going to be in some sort of a zone. Can you diagnose the zone defense? Can you process pressure? And can you find your answers? Because if you can, I think there's going to be open passes for Ty Simpson to hit. And then can you hit them accurately and keep the chains moving? I think Indiana is going to make you snap the ball a bunch of times. I think they're going to make you march the field. They're not going to give you too many, extremely explosive plays. You might hit a nice play down the sidelines like he did to Isaiah Horton, but as far as getting a 50-yard touchdown, I don't think that's going to be in the cards there. They're going to keep everything in front of them, and you're just going to have to find the open receiver in the zone defenses after the snap. Can you process the defense? Can you go through your progressions and find the right guy, hit them accurately? I think there's going to be a huge test for Ty Simpson. What else Indiana does that makes things really challenging? Like, I did throw at you all the offensive ratings that they played. Some bad offenses, a couple good ones, but some bad offenses. Indiana is second in the nation in tackles for loss, sandwiched right in between number 1, Oklahoma, and number 2, Texas A&M. Oklahoma has 122 tackles for a loss. Indiana, 112 tackles for a loss this season.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into as well. You talked about their total defense possibly being inflated. What about the sack numbers being inflated? 15 combined sacks between their 2 starting linebackers. That seems a little bit on the high side, if I'm just being honest with you. I'm not saying that Hardy and Jones are bad players, but I mean, you're going up against Purdue, UCLA, Michigan State, and now you're going up against Alabama, whose offensive line's gotten better and better and better each week. They've gotten better in pass pro. They got Jam Miller, who's fully healthy. He's one of the best pass pro backs they have. Daniel Hill's okay. I think he needs improvement in that aspect of his game. But how much of those sacks and tackles for loss that you just brought up, how much are those inflated? Because I think that is more inflated than just total defense. If we're just being honest here, because they're going up against offensive lines. I'm not sure where, like I said, Purdue offensive line ranks, Iowa's, Illinois, Michigan State, UCLA. We can go on and on. I'm not sure if they played Rutgers, Old Dominion, Kennesaw State. Where do those offensive lines rank? Because if they're playing makeshift offensive lines who aren't as physical as Alabama's, who hadn't been through the gauntlet of defenses that Alabama's seen, Georgia twice, Oklahoma twice, Auburn. Are those sack numbers inflated just a little bit? Are they exaggerated? Is the 8? I get it. It's 8 sacks, obviously, but is it just against terrible offensive lines, and you're just quicker and more athletic than they are?
Well,
because the athleticism is probably going to be at the same, I would say.
Our man Reliah Hardy and Isaiah Jones combined for 3.5 sacks in the Big Ten championship game. Those two guys against Ohio State. Against Oregon, he had 2, and Jones had 2 as well. So they had 4 sacks in the Oregon game. Those two guys combined. So they were pretty good against these better offenses.
They were pretty good
as well. Right. Now you do have ended up with that's tackle for loss. Where's sack right there. That was tackles for loss. Excuse me. Sacks. 1 against Oregon for Jones, and sacks 1 for Hardy as well. So they combined for 2 sacks, against Oregon. 4 tackles for loss, but 2 sacks. And then against Ohio State, 1 sack right there and 2 sacks right there. So 3 sacks. Yes, 3. The 2 linebackers combined for 3 sacks. 3 of
against
their
Oregon and Ohio State.
Yeah.
So that'll play them.
Yeah, no, I think so. 3 of their 15 sacks came against Ohio State, and 2 more. So 5 of their 15 sacks came against Ohio State and Oregon.
So that answered my question then.
Yes. So
they are valid linebackers.
They are
really
pretty
good.
solid players.
Regardless of the competition they face, they'll get after it. They'll get after you as well.
So the other big aspect of this defense is they've turned the football over a lot. They've turned a lot of teams over. I just was on an NCAA turnover margin. They have only given up 8 turnovers this entire season. But as far as turnovers gained, they are. Let's sort that out.
They have 17 interceptions.
They have
on the year.
25 turnovers gained. That's good for 1, 2, 3.
So 8 fumble recoveries, 17 picks.
8th in the nation in turnovers forced. 25 total turnovers gained, 17 interceptions, and 8 fumble recoveries. You've only given up 7 interceptions and 1 fumble. Your fumble came in the first game of the year against Old Dominion. And you have your boy Adrian Fernandez, Adrian Mendoza. Alberto
Mendoza.
Thank you very much. You knew where I was going. The backup quarterback, Alberto Mendoza, has thrown 1 interception. So the Heisman Trophy winner has thrown 6 interceptions all year, and that's it. That's it. You've had 1 team fumble in the first game of the year. You've gone your last 12 games without a lost fumble. Mendoza only 6 picks. He threw a pick against Ohio State. Basically, it was a screen pass off to the left hand side. That
you had a pick 6 in scoring.
Yeah,
that was a big play in that game.
So doesn't give the ball up a whole lot. Doesn't put the ball in too many dangerous positions. I think Alabama's secondary is going to be really tested in this game.
They're going to be stressed out to the max against this offense.
Yeah, because they've got a couple really nice receivers as well. I mean, it's not the Alabama receivers, but I think that the Oregon receivers are pretty nice, especially what I just watched.
Our friend Malik Benson's pretty good.
Well, I think these Indiana receivers, excuse me, I said Oregon, but these Indiana receivers are pretty daggum talented. Elijah Surratt and Charlie Becker.
Charlie B.
Yeah,
Mark Cooper's really good as well. Leads the team in yards receiving.
They've got a lot of options. And they've got a lot of options and a really cerebral quarterback. It's going to be really challenging. I did the same little exercise with Indiana's total offense. Indiana total offense, 8th in the country, 472 yards per game. They faced Old Dominion, 33, best defense in the country. Kennesaw State, 102. Illinois, 51. Iowa, 7. Oregon, 8. Michigan State 73rd in total defense, UCLA 84th in total defense, Maryland 98th in total defense, Penn State 35, Wisconsin 27 in total defense, so at least making up for their bad offense with a good defense. Purdue 121 in total defense, pretty terrible. Ohio State number 1 overall in total defense, giving up 213 yards per game. Their average FBS defense faced was 58th in the country. So pretty decent. Alabama is 13th overall in total defense, giving up 288 yards per game. So it will be one of their better defenses that they have faced, but statistically speaking, Iowa, Oregon, and Ohio State are all better defenses than Alabama in yards per game.
And they're very balanced as well. We haven't even talked about the running backs yet. Hemby's really good. Black's really good. Martin's had a solid year. So, I mean, Alabama's going to have to work it out for him. I'm sure Kane Wommack's been watching film diligently, very, very diligently this whole week before that, really after the Oklahoma game. I hope after the game on the plane ride home that he was crunching the film.
I'm sure he was.
I hope so, because this is a very good Indiana offense, probably the best we've seen all year long, I'd say. Maybe up there with Tennessee.
I really like this Keelan Black, the backup running back. Obviously, Roman Hemby is their starting running back. 176 carries, 918, and 6 touchdowns. But backup running back Keelan Black, I think, is probably my favorite running back they have on the team. 142 carries, 799, and 7 rushing touchdowns. So he's averaging a little bit more yards per game or yards per carry on the ground. I think he's an explosive change of pace back who
scat back type energy.
And who, if you're not ready for him to hit the hole, then he could be by you by the time you get there.
That's right. Because I watched him against Ohio State, and he had some really good runs against them. And that's a really good defense.
Did I really do this whole show with you sitting in the background? No.
My camera went out, but
that's why.
Yeah.
When your camera went out, you went back to the background, but they still heard you because you're connected to this board. Smile at the people. Say hello. Yeah, perfect.
I'm back, guys.
Sorry,
chat.
Sorry about that. Oops. Just clicked over to the screen and you're sitting in the background. So.
Have me in the back the whole time.
No. I think it's gonna be a tough game. Are you leaning towards Alabama wins or Indiana wins?
I'm leaning toward Indiana win, to be honest with you. If Alabama gets down 17-0, I don't think Indiana is going to make a catastrophic mistake like Oklahoma did and spot Alabama 10 points.
That's the issue. That's
the thing. They don't beat themselves, dude.
Exactly.
They don't turn the ball over, to your point. 6 turnovers the past 12 games.
Right.
I mean, good Lord. I mean, you're going to have to get some takeaways, as Kane Wommack says, if you're going to have a chance to beat them, because I just don't know how this Alabama offense can do it by themselves. I think they're going to need a little bit of help, whether that be in special teams, block kick return. Maybe Cole Adams can make a play here or there in punt return situations. You're going to need a turnover from the defense, strip sack, interception that puts you deep into Indiana territory with a short field. You're going to have someone come up big in special teams or on the defensive side. I think Connor Talty's going to need to make every kick like he's been doing ever since the Eastern Illinois game. And I think Ty Simpson's going to have to carve this defense up. He's going to have to be mistake-free. And really, you're going to have to match their physicality and match the mistake-free football that Indiana likes to play with. We've talked about this a lot. Kirk Cignetti, I've heard him say multiple times how much he's been watching film. It's like he's been making a point of emphasis during his press conferences to say how much he's been watching film. And I honestly believe that. I think he's been watching Alabama ever since they've been matched up with Oklahoma when the rankings came out on Sunday after the SEC championship game. I don't know how much time he's been spending on Oklahoma when the rankings came out for the final time, but I think Kirk Cignetti's been in the film room a lot, and I think they're going to be very prepared. How much prepared are you versus them? I think that'll come into play as well.
Yeah, like I don't give a rip about Indiana. They're 1, 2, 3. Their 4th string running back, Lee Beebe, fumbling in the season opener. I don't give a rip about that. I don't give a rip about their backup quarterback, Alberto Mendoza, throwing an interception in garbage time in a blowout against UCLA. So you've really only had 6 turnovers this whole daggum year. 6 turnovers where there have been 6 interceptions. And I mean, so Mendoza put the ball in the danger zone against Ohio State. It was a screen that was met with extreme physicality.
Screen, yeah.
Right.
They blew up.
They blew up and the ball popped in the air and Ohio State
kind of
guy
a freak
caught
play,
it.
to be honest with you.
Very much so.
And then the
Very
one
much.
against Oregon, he just made a bad decision.
So
he's made one bad decision, and I've seen him play ever since Oregon.
Yeah, exactly. And so the man takes care of the football at a very high level, and they're not putting the ball on the ground. I don't really think. I mean, look, Alabama, you've done a really good job of the last handful of games in protecting the football. 1 interception against Georgia, 0 giveaways against Oklahoma in this recent game, and 0 giveaways against Auburn. You did throw 2 interceptions against Eastern Illinois. Obviously, one was kind of a junk interception with the end of half Hail Mary, but since the Eastern Illinois game, you've buckled down a little bit in the turnover department to where you were positive against Auburn, you're positive against Oklahoma, you were -1 against Georgia. But you're like you have to be. You can't. I mean, Ty, knock on wood, but you haven't been sacked fumbled since the first Oklahoma loss here in Tuscaloosa. So it's been a handful of weeks since you've been sacked fumbled. Your running backs haven't really given the ball up, but you did have Jam Miller put the ball on the deck against Oklahoma. Like, there were a couple of chances Oklahoma could have had if they were on their P's and Q's, but they weren't. Ty has largely taken care of the football in the passing game this season, but you still have the possibility of errant throw here and errant throw there. Like, I think Mendoza is more accurate, and I think he makes better decisions than Ty Simpson does. Now, I mean, that doesn't mean that Ty is bad by any means, but I think Mendoza is better in those two categories, protecting the football. And so from a turnover situation, from a turnover aspect, you've got to not only not give the ball away, but you've got to take the ball when, like, there's going to be maybe 2 chances the whole game to take the ball away. You can't drop an interception if it gets popped up in the air. Right, you've got to capitalize on any opportunities that Indiana gives you, because they're going to be so few and far between.
100%. I have another question about offensive players. How big of a factor do you think Josh Cuevas will be? We saw him a little bit against Oklahoma, 3 catches, 35 yards. He had that big catch that got him into Oklahoma territory that set up the Latsier Brooks touchdown to make it 17-7. But how big of a factor will he be in this game? Because that's Ty's security blanket. When he gets pressured, he likes to look for Cuevas in 3rd and short, 4th and short yardage situations. Will he be taken away? How will the Indiana defense approach that? Who's going to be checking him all game long? How do you go about handling Josh Cuevas in passing situations? That's my biggest thing as well, is like, how much access is Ty going to have to his security blanket that he loves to go to when he's pressured?
I think they're going to be pretty blanketed on him. I do think that Cuevas will find himself some opportunities, but I think that Ryan Grubb's going to have to be creative with the way that he uses Cuevas in the sense that I think he needs to show Indiana. I think he needs to show Indiana Cuevas as an option, but have someone else be the real security blanket option. Right, yeah. Exactly. So that you can draw some coverage and you can hit Daniel Hill, you can hit Kevin Riley out of the backfield, you can hit Ryan Williams as well. Like, I think that this is a real big chance for Ryan Grubb to show his creativity in this game, because I think that Indiana plays so disciplined that it's going to take some creativity to move some people's eyes, get some guys following their read keys, but their read keys a decoy, taking them into a trap and opening something else up. I think that it's going to be a real big opportunity for for Ryan Grubb to show his creativity in the game.
Maybe see more Jay Lindsey action.
No, that's wild. That'd be wild. One other thing, speaking of discipline, Indiana, you are how many in this? You are 6th in the nation in total penalties. Right there with the Army Black Knights. Army has the season low 34 penalties. Army and Iowa are tied number 1 season low penalties, 34 penalties on the year. Air Force 43, Wisconsin 43, Michigan 48. Indiana, 49 penalties all year long for 370 penalty yards. So 370 penalty yards is 4th in the nation, 4th fewest in the nation in penalty yards. Now, Alabama has done better under Coach Kalen DeBoer than they did under the last few years of Nick Saban in penalties. Alabama 37th in penalties, 66 penalties on the year for 591 yards. It's not a make or break thing, but it's just another example of how well coached and how well disciplined the Indiana Hoosiers are. They play extremely hard. They play extremely disciplined. They don't beat themselves. You've said it already maybe 2 or 3 times, but I think that is just another example.
Home.
They don't beat themselves. And so when there's an opportunity, like if they do have a holding penalty and get backed up to 1st and 20, you got to get off the field. You've got to take advantage when there are small, tiny cracks. And I mean, look, no team is perfect. No team's going to be perfect. But if they have a tiny crack and go holding 1st and 20, you've got to get off the field right there. You can't allow 13 yards on 15, right.
100%.
And so it's like Alabama. Look, take you back to the Oklahoma game. You're down. They ended up with a late hit penalty that takes it to 3rd and 22, and they're outside of field goal range. You're down, I think it was 7-0. I think you're right. You're down 7-0, and it's exactly. They throw a screen out there on 3rd and 22 that everybody rallies their tail off to, but nobody wraps up initially. And it was Satanga basically
like 13 yards,
right.
12 yards.
He rumbles through, he makes a cut, rumbles through, and obviously the defense does tackle him short of the first down, but they move from outside of field goal range to just inside field goal range. Like you got to rally and tackle and not give up field goal opportunities, scoring opportunities. You got to take advantage of penalties, the few penalties that Indiana is going to commit in this game.
100%. You brought up penalties. I was crunching the numbers last night. They commit 3.6 penalties a game. In their last 3, they've committed 2.7. Alabama's at 4.8 a game. I'm not sure what they are in their last 3. But that just goes to show you how disciplined this Indiana team is. Kurt Cignetti, he's a chip off Saban's block. He doesn't tolerate stupid penalties and stupid mistakes. I was watching the Oregon game, and a guy got hurt on the play, and he's yelling at the dude as he's jogging off. You got to be tougher than that. Step up and be tougher. And what happens? He takes the play off, goes back in, and I'm sure he played tough after that. That's for sure. But, I mean, he doesn't tolerate any BS. He doesn't tolerate any lackadaisical football. And I think that's what Alabama is going to have to match in this game if they want to win. They can't have stupid penalties. They haven't really made a lot of stupid penalties to begin with ever since Florida State. I think that was a recollection for them, a reincarnation of this Alabama team. We saw a different team than what we saw this whole year after that Tallahassee debacle. So that was, I guess, the best thing that's happened for this Crimson Tide football team. But, I mean, like you said, Joe, they can't make stupid penalties. And when Indiana does put themselves in 3rd and 15, 3rd and 10, 3rd and long, regardless of what down it is, distance, they have to make them pay for that. They got to make them suffer from the mistakes they make. And if they can't, then Indiana's going to pick them apart. You got to put pressure on Mendoza. That's been the biggest key all year long with him. How much pressure can you put him under? He's 50% completion rate when he's been under pressure. But he does have a good touchdown to interception ratio.
Great touchdown.
15-0 under pressure in the last 2 seasons. That's phenomenal. That's NFL caliber right there. First-round draft pick worthy. So, I mean, like I said, make them pay for the mistakes they made, get pressure on Mendoza. I think that's the key for Alabama to win. And honestly, the biggest key if Alabama wants to win this football game.
Do you think the Alabama fans are respecting Indiana?
I feel like yes and no. I feel like more no than yes, just because of the logo.
Right.
Which it shouldn't be that at all because they are a damn good football team.
Yes.
Fundamentally sound football team. But at the same time, they hadn't beat a whole bunch of good competition. Oregon and Ohio State.
It's great competition. That's great competition.
I know that, but other than them, you know, Alabama's beat Oklahoma. They've beat Georgia. They've beat
who else outside of
Vanderbilt.
2-2.
They have beat them though, but that was in September and in the regular season. To your point.
I mean, I'll give you that. I think the Vanderbilt win is probably better than any third win on Ohio State's schedule. I mean, on Indiana's schedule, right? Indiana's third best win is probably Iowa. Is probably Illinois. It's probably who? I mean, you've got ODU, Kennesaw State, Indiana State. It's not them. Illinois, Iowa.
It's probably drop off.
It's probably
Iowa State,
right? And so Vanderbilt's definitely a better win than Iowa.
Probably.
But I mean, you can't poo-poo beating Oregon on the road or Ohio State in a championship game. Like no matter what you want to do with the other 10 games, 11 games, you can't poo-poo those.
No,
games.
I'm not. They're a good football team. I'm just saying, other than those 2 wins, where are you hanging your hat on? whereas Alabama's played. I get it; they didn't win Georgia twice, Oklahoma twice, Vanderbilt. Even Tennessee at the time was pretty dang good. I know they went 8-4 and lost to Vanderbilt at the end of the year. That's still a pretty good win, and that's up there with Iowa, who Indiana beat. So, I mean, Alabama's got some really good wins, and they've played stout competition. How much will that play a factor into this?
Well,
Are they battle tested? We've heard everybody say they're battle tested because they played the gauntlet of the SEC. But is it all talk? Because look at the bowl slate. LSU lost to Houston. Missouri lost to Virginia.
I don't much care about those games, but do you?
No, I don't either. But they hadn't really.
But they did lose.
They did lose.
Sure, of course, they did
really
lose.
Prove my point that the SEC has been a gauntlet. But I mean, I don't know. I really don't because.
Well, here's been my impression of Indiana since I've been watching them. I said this in the car against as we were driving to Oklahoma with Katie Wyndham, Hunter Stiver, and Tony Sakalis. We were driving and we're talking about the possibility of playing this next game, the Rose Bowl. I said, Indiana, my take, and my take is I'm more confident in this take after watching Indiana a little bit more in the last week and change. Indiana is super Vanderbilt. They're Vanderbilt plus. They're Vanderbilt 10. Souped up in the sense that Clark Lee gets the most out of his Vanderbilt Commodore team. And I think that Kurt Signetti gets the most out of this Indiana team. Now, I think Diego Pavia is a nice college quarterback, but he's not a great passer. Right. He's not an elite passer of the football. I think Fernando Mendoza is probably closer to an elite passer than not. Obviously, I mean, the NFL draft result will show you that when Mendoza is drafted top 3, probably number 1, and Diego Pavia might be drafted in the 6th round. Might. Right.
Probably undrafted.
Yeah, probably undrafted. Right.
Probably go undrafted, honestly.
And so I think that Indiana is super Vanderbilt in the sense that they play extremely physical. And the other factor is, you know how Vanderbilt will take 3 yards and just be fine with it. We'll take 3.3 yards and we'll milk all the clock. We'll end this drive with a touchdown 17 plays later. I think Indiana is totally willing to play that style of offense as well. And when you creep up and try to stop these running backs that are good, not great, but definitely good, and a physical offensive line, well, it's going to leave you one-on-one shots and one-on-one opportunities down the field for Mendoza to really to really take advantage of. And so so your defense is going to have to play, and you hear the old cliche, win your box. You've got to win your box. And so the defensive line,
111.
Exactly. Yanzi Pierre, do my 111. You've got to win your 111 because if your 111 takes 2 people, well, you're going to get burned because Mendoza is going to burn you in the passing game. Or if you're 111, if you need more players to stop the rush, Mendoza is burning you in the passing game. I think that this Indiana offense is just extremely balanced, and they play very, very, very disciplined and physical, meaning everybody on the Alabama defense who I think you're hanging your hat going into this game, Alabama, hanging your hat on the defense because the defense has been the only constant over the last 7 weeks of the season. Offense, good to great in some spurts, but booty cheeks in some other spurts. Just depends on which couple series you want to look at. They were really
good after the first quarter against Oklahoma.
Right.
They had that first quarter where it was like they couldn't move the ball.
And Indiana's not going to take their hand off your neck.
They won't, like Oklahoma did.
So I think the defense has to have a really, really strong game for Alabama. I like Kane Womack. I like what the defense has done this season, but I am pretty concerned watching this Indiana team going into the Rose Bowl.
The thing with the defense, you brought up Mendoza, Joe, and Kane Womack adjusted in that Oklahoma game, but I feel like he should have adjusted after the second drive, after the third drive, not when it was 17-0, because he went to, cover 0, he said, for the majority of part of the game after they went up 17-0. I think the adjustment's got to be quicker than that. You got to make an adjustment quick if you see something that you think can help this defense, whether it be pressure. I'm interested to see how they handle Yanze Pierre, Keon Keeley, and LT Overton coming back. I think all 3 of them need to be on the field at the same time in some form or fashion, whether it be the first drive of the game, second drive of the game, regardless of down, especially if it's 3rd and long, direct havoc on Mendoza, because that's where I think he can get gotten and where you can make this Indiana team very vulnerable is putting pressure on Mendoza, force him to speed up the process a little bit, force him into mistakes, where Xavier Brown, John Lee can get an interception, Keon Sabb, where they can wreak havoc. Put Yanze Pierre, put Keon Keeley on the field, LT Overton on the field at the same time, and just see what happens, honestly. Because I think playing aggressive, matching that physicality, and all three of them are very physical players, I think that'll be your best chance and best bet to beat Indiana, and get Mendoza all the fits in the world.
I agree. I think you got to find a way to put pressure on Mendoza, and that maybe you can turn him over and give your offense some extra possession against a really, really solid and disciplined defense. It's going to be a lot of fun, Hunter. We're going to get into it the rest of the week. We're going to actually head over to the Malmore Athletic Facility at about 2:30 to film the team getting on buses. They're going to be flying out of Birmingham, so today's video is not going to be from the Tuscaloosa airport. It's going to be from the Malmore facility. I'm sure those guys are going to police escort up to the Birmingham airport, and they're going to fly out to California, and then we'll have other Bama Central teammates already out in California ready to film the arrival. I think that Hunter Cyber is landing pretty soon out there, and so he's going to be there to film their arrival. We're going to have an open practice, so more practice footage is going to be right there on the Bama Central YouTube channel. You can find that as well right there. We'll have another few press conferences. Tuesday, I think it's tomorrow, is going to be a huge media day. Tuesday or Wednesday, I think it's Tuesday, is a huge media day for the guys that will have Hunter Cyber. We'll have Katie Wyndham and Theo Fernandez in the room. They're going to be able to talk to Keon. They're going to be able to talk to Keon Keeley, Keelan Russell. They're going to be able to talk to all the guys that we're not usually allowed to talk to. Everybody will be made available tomorrow at a media day session, so be sure to be paying attention to the Bama Central YouTube channel to find out kind of what those guys have to say about the Rose Bowl. I'm sure that some people will be asked about the potential transfer portal. We already saw Cam Howard. Thank you. Cam Howard jumped in the transfer portal yesterday, day before, announced that over the weekend. We're going to be going over to the Malmore Athletic Facility to Coleman Coliseum tonight. We said we were going to talk about this Yale game. We're not going to talk about this Yale game because who cares about Alabama taking on Yale? Yale is number 78 in KenPom with the number 21 overall offense, 278 defense this season. That game's going to be at 7 o'clock in Coleman Coliseum. Will Miller and myself will have all the coverage on BamaCentral.com. Old Kenny Pomeroy says that Alabama will win 95-82. That'll be the last game before conference action starts Saturday. Alabama takes on Kentucky, so it's going to be a huge day in Tuscaloosa. We will see how the weekend goes. We're going to be covering more of the Indiana matchup, the Rose Bowl game, right here on the Joe Gaither Show. We're brought to you by Purple Turtle Roofing. We appreciate Purple Turtle Roofing for sponsoring the program. We're going to have Daniel Flick join us from Indiana Sooners on SI on Wednesday. We're going to have a lot of fun. Hunter, we'll see you later today over at the basketball game.
Absolutely, Joe. And I just got one thing to say.
Please.
Take care of business against Yale. They're not a good team. I promise you. You should run them out of the gym, run them back to Connecticut, do your job, rebound, play with toughness. That's one thing I want to see. Rebound and play with toughness.
That's the only thing I'm looking for as well. So we're on the same page. Follow him at Hunt Brantley 8 on all the social media machines. You can see all of his work for WVUA. Joins us from time to time on the Joe Gaither Show. It's been a lot of fun, Hunter. Hope you have a great day, man.
You as well, Joe. Let's go get a win against Yale tonight.
Absolutely, and we'll talk about it tomorrow morning right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.